Well, I always love reading with Ilya because certain chemicals get released in one's body as you're listening to Ilya, and just the excitement of being able to hear the great Russian declamatory style just still continuing on, and it's absolutely thrilling. To hear the echoes not just of Mandelstam, but of Akhmatova and Brodsky and all of the poets, Yevtushenko, the poets we so love and admire. And it's just a great gift, I think, to all of us to be able to have Ilya in our midst and with his poetry. I think I'll start with a poem that's an elegy for an old friend. A woman who was a poet, and it's called A Hard and Noble Patience. There is a hard and noble patience I admire in my friends who are dead, though I admit there are none of them I would change places with. For one thing, look how poorly they dress. Only one is still beautiful, and that is because she chose to drown herself in a Swiss lake fed by a glacier said in local myth to be a pool of the gods. And when her body was found, she was so preserved by the icy currents that even her eyelashes seemed to quiver beneath my breath, though that was only for an instant, before she was strapped to a canvas stretcher and loaded into a blue van. Soon, I was the only person still standing at the lake's edge, a man made lonely by such beauty, a man with less than perfect faith in any God. The next poem is, this is a book called Prism, and it has these great color photographs scattered throughout by a friend named Lance Batigian, who began his artistic life as a poet and then began making extraordinary photographs. We decided to do something in collaboration, and I thought we would do, something kind of gritty, and he would do black and white. It'd be like Robert Frank or Danny Lyon, sort of like, Rest Stops of America, or, something like that. And so I said, well, what shall we do? And he said, let's do a book about color. And I thought, well, that sounds impossible enough. Let's try that. And so the book is called Prism. All of the poems have as their titles a particular color. They're all but one are 14-liners, sort of pseudo-sonnets. As you'll discover, I'm going to read two of these. And one of the things that I wanted to do with them was to have them extend over one breath. This first is called Saffron, and it's a poem about the Dalai Lama. And my friends tell me that all my poems are about the Dalai Lama, and that's why they're my friends. This is called Saffron. It actually takes place on a beach in Santa Monica near where I live. Saffron. Even the thin tube of Spanish saffron sitting on the spice rack above the butcher block cooking table seems to glow with the worth of at least its weight in gold. And today at the beach, a dozen Buddhist monks in golden robes stepped out of 3 limousines to walk their Holy One out along the dunes to the water's flayed edge, where the sand burned with a light one could only call in its reddish mustard radiance the essence of saffron. And what I remember most of the scene as the Holy One knelt down to touch those waves was his sudden laughter and his joy and that billowing burnt lemon light opening across the sky. This next poem cheats because it's actually about 2 colors. And seeing all the bees around campus, it seemed appropriate to read this poem. It's called Bumblebee. It was such a 50s kind of thing. The astonishing sport coat at the back of the drop-dead expensive Roman men's store I'd pass by almost every day just off the Corso. And sure enough, it was exactly my size. And it's almost impossible to describe the vibrating sense of pleasure the soft lines of alternating butter and black gave to the haze left in the eye of the gazer, in this case meaning me, as I stood before the mirror, smoothing the lapels along my swelling chest, and the woman beside me, herself just a little breathless, turned and said, "Oh, honey, oh, honey." This next poem is from this book called The Red Leaves of Night, and there's an opening sequence called Nocturnes and Aubades. This is one of the sections. Nocturnes, of course, are night music. Aubades are the songs sung at the coming of day to mark the parting of lovers. That's the literary tradition. In fact, it began when 2 lovers meeting illicitly would have someone posted outside, and as daybreak came, the person posted outside would sing in order to let the lovers know it was time for each of them to get back to wherever it was they were really supposed to be. So this is a poem in many sections. I'll just read one, and it's called A Pact. It's not so hard to love a ghost, as some friends might try to tell you. People do it for years, I hear, with almost nobody noticing. One night I held a silver gun to my head, just to imagine myself as the ghost to be. Nobody special, just myself only. You know, so pale and thin you could see right through me, just like a thistle. Figure it out. I'm here, but I'm not. That's what happened to me the evening you said you'd be happier if I were dead. So I said, I'm sorry. I'm here. I'm not. Sooner or later, a man simply burns the toast. It's not so hard to leave you as it seems, old ghost. And I'd like to read a few poems now from this book called The Face. And what you need to know about this book is that it's 3 parts with 15 sections in each parts. It's a long poem. It's called a novella in verse. And the speaker of this book has been through a kind of shattering. And he's trying in the course of the book to reassemble what's become the scattered mosaic of his own life. And as he does this, he has either the good fortune or extreme misfortune to be having a movie of his life being made. There's a producer here, her name is Infanta, and I'll just read one short section in which she appears. And I'll just read 4 or 5 sections from this. The sections have no titles, just numbers. Whisper, fister, call out the cold from the body. Call up the silence from the bones. Unclench that final personal pronoun. Where were you last night? I didn't hear you come in. I must have been dreaming of Portugal again. Those breezy days of late May near the crooked shore where you lay naked beneath the shifting, scraping wheel of the sun. But I didn't mind bringing you the colorful drinks chattering with ice. I didn't mind licking the sand off the insides of your thighs until the fat hourglass grew clean. I didn't mind the silver nipple clips I found in your dresser drawer. I didn't mind the soft constellations of melanoma in your misty future. And please understand, I never mind your extravagant indifference to everything I try to say. After all, it's over when it's over, right? When it's over, it's already been over. Everybody knows. Long before it's finally over. So I don't mind any of it, really. I don't mind your silence, your well-honed, inevitable, and impersonal pronoun silence of departure, nor all of that listening I've wasted. I don't mind any of it. Not even those years I've wasted like silence, love. Wasted, wasted, wasted. Over, not over, you. Infanta calls from the islands, where she's working on the script, that tapestry of travesty, carefully warping the details of this life along some more persuasive weft. She says she knows I've had it hard lately, and after my silence she replies, "Ah, I can hear you're back in your cell." So I say, "What?" Then she says to me once more, "I said I can tell that you're back in your shell." So I say again, "What?" "Just call me on my cell," she says, as the signal fades and the air grows cold and black. It was late May when I began the journal, a record of descents, tours of the abyss, and catalogs of blackness. One morning I woke, having dreamt I was the vehicle of aliens, no joke, a stiff robotic self, impeccably designed to go out into our world and hunt other people. My alien engineers had expected more success, I'm sure. The dream never made it clear exactly the fate of those I'd encountered, though I'm sure my friends might have something to say on this subject. At last, my daughter recognized me. I mean, the me within, the me who was the robot transport. And just that touch of her hand in recognition made all of those internal, extra-earthly mini-parasites evaporate like dust motes in the wind. "Thanks," I said out loud as I woke to the blaze of sunlight in the bedroom. "You're welcome," she said, just there at the bedside, her hand on my head, for God only knows how long. And this is the last poem I'm going to read. So thank you all for coming, and thanks most of all for my good friend Tom. You already know what an astonishing poet and what a great teacher he is. What you might not know is what a loyal and dedicated friend he is as well. The voice, a woman's, says, "You self-absorbed prick." And I swear, every man in the place looks up. Assuming in a heartbeat and probably not without reason, that he's the one, and I include myself here, that this bullet is clearly meant for. But then we can see her, because she stands up beside the table, looking down at him the way a gargoyle surveys the filth below. And then, of course, we notice him, wickedly handsome, beautiful, really. Late 40s with jet black dyed hair, slicked back. And though, of course, it's unfair, you hear the whole restaurant decide together all at once, well, she's probably got a point. He's pure Eurotrash. Your standard Rodeo Drive chauffeur come gigolo come male model, all grown up and burnt out. And it's hard not to feel just a little sorry for him as she raises her steak knife to her shoulder and buries it in the back of his left hand, flattened, now pinned against the starched white linen tablecloth. She looks at the knife and slumps into her chair. He looks over at her with what seems enormous tenderness, and it's easy to believe, in fact, that we've got it all wrong. As the waiter comes over with an ice pack and the first aid kit, as the several doctors in the house compete with their cell phones and advice, as the lake of blood deliberately advances toward her. Well, looking at the two of them, looking at each other, it's hard not to admit they must be in love. I mean, really, really in love. Thank you.